Schopenhauer's essay, titled On Reading and Books, is actually more about not reading books.
If you are curious about reading advice by one of history's brightest minds, get ready to be slightly disappointed.
We have distilled the essay down to 6 rules. Rule 1. Don't read too much. Schopenhauer, true to his grumpy style and outlook, is not as enthusiastic about reading as some people in the 21st century are. In fact, he repeatedly warns against the danger of reading too much.
And so it happens that the person who reads a great deal, that is to say, almost the whole day, and recreates himself by spending the intervals in thoughtless diversion, gradually loses the ability to think for himself. Just as a man who is always riding at last forgets how to walk. Such, however, is the case with many men of learning. They have read themselves stupid.
Rule 2. Think about what you've read. In reading, we are merely retracing the thoughts of the author.
And by not putting in any effort, we lose our own ability to think. In other words, we let others do the thinking for us.
Rule 3. Focus on the classics. Only read for a limited and definite time exclusively the works of great minds.
Those who surpass other men of all times and countries, and whom the voice of fame points to as such. These alone really educate and instruct.
We have a limited time on this earth, and there are millions of books being printed each year, most of which are bad. However, there are some gems which have survived throughout the ages, old names that have become well known to us as they have passed the test of time.
Schopenhauer advises us to read only these authors.
Rule 4. Read primary texts. Challenge yourself and read the primary texts of these authors instead of books about the authors.
However, keep in mind that Schopenhauer enjoyed one of the greatest educations available at the time, was fluent in Latin and Greek, and had been exposed to these classical authors since childhood. Most of us in the 21st century aren't quite so lucky.
Rule 5. Good books should be read twice. Any kind of important book should immediately be read twice, partly because one grasps the matter in its entirety the second time, and only really understands the beginning when the end is known, and partly because in reading it the second time, one's temper and mood are different.
Rule 6. Bad books are poison.
Bad books are intellectual poison. They destroy the mind.
In order to read what is good, one must make it a condition never to read what is bad, for life is short, and both time and strength limited.
The final rule is perhaps the most important one. But how do you know which book is good and which is bad? By looking at how well they stood the test of time.
Schopenhauer invites us to take a step back and look backwards to the great writers of antiquity, and to start there by reading them slowly and not too often.